Hello everyone and welcome to another James World video. So in today's video I'm going to show you how to clean out or replace a throttle body on a 1.8 Vauxhall Astra Mark IV. So we're going to start off here. We're going to take off the engine cover. It gives us a little bit better access to the throttle body. For this we're going to use a T30 bit with a socket and a ratchet to take off the two bolts that are holding the engine cover to the engine. I'm just going to undo these really quick, and then we can take our oil cap out also, and that will let us remove the engine cover from the engine. You see I'm just undoing the cap, taking that off, and then we can take the engine cover off. And as you can see, that back, now we can see everything on the throttle body that we need to take everything off. Just putting the cap back in so I don't drop any bolts or anything in there. Okay, so this is the throttle body, as you can see. The first thing you're going to want to do is you're going to want to take the airflow tubing out from off the throttle body, and you do this by undoing the screw, which is, you see what I'm doing here at the back. There's a like a Jubilee clip that holds it. You just want to undo that, and you can pull it straight off up. And you're going to want to try and like move it to the side as much as you can. There you can see there's the throttle body, there's the little butterfly flap inside. That's what lets the air into the engine, into the intake. This one is a throttle, this one's a cable throttle. As you can see, the cable's on the front. So what I did first was I took off the cable from the throttle body. You just need to give it a really good pull towards you. It's quite difficult. I ended up using a pry bar because mine was a little bit stiff. You might get away with just using your hands, but just use whatever means necessary to get that off. You can see me fighting with it. And it finally does pop through. There we go. Now, the only thing it's now attached by is there's a little ball joint on the bit itself, and it's got a little C-clip that holds it on. And you're going to want a little pick like this with a little point, and then you can stick that under the clip and prise up, and then you can pull the ball joint off. It's quite fiddly and quite small, so just take your time. Make sure you don't lose that clip as well, because if that falls into the engine bay you'll never find it ever again. You see I get the end foot under and then like pry up like a pry bar, and then it just pops off like so, and then just place it to one side where you can still find it. I'm just demonstrating here what I did. Again, you can see me pry up. There you go. Okay, so the next thing you're going to want to do is we're going to tackle the hoses on the right hand side. There's 5 different hoses. Oh, never mind. What we are going to do is we're going to take off the electrical connector. This is, I think this is the throttle position sensor on the back there, but it's just a little plug that you can push down. I used a pick just to help me, and you just pull that off. It's fairly easy. There you go. And then just place that to the side so you know where it is. Now we're going to get onto the hoses. I'm going to use some hose clamp pliers. You can use normal pliers, needle nose pliers, like these, but I use hose clamp pliers as well, just to make my life a bit easier. There's 5 hoses on the right hand side of the throttle body. There's 2 larger ones, there's 2 at the back, and then there's also a vacuum line. Now the vacuum line doesn't have a clamp on it, but the other 4 do. So just take, it doesn't matter what way you take them off, just make sure you get all these hoses unhooked. It is a little bit confined in this part of the area bay, so just be patient, try not to break any of the clips, and yeah, just get them all off. You can see I've got one off there. I'll just place it to the side so I can get to the bottom one. That's the second one. I'm not entirely sure what all these hoses do. I know a couple of them are vacuum lines, One's a coolant line, and I think the other is I'm not quite sure what the other one is. This is me taking off the back ones. You can see there's one at the top and one just below it. So this is a bit of a better view. You can see where the hoses were attached on the side there. And that's me just taking the rear lower one off while struggling with it. That was a real pain, that one. So that's the final one now taking off is a vacuum line, which doesn't have a clamp on it. Okay, so these are the bolts. These are the 4 bolts that hold it on. There's one in each corner. They're all a Torx bolt. They're an E12. I do show the socket in this next clip, but you won't be able to see it too well. It's a bit fuzzy. But it's an E12 inverted Torx bolt. So all I did was I just loosened them off one by one. I just went from corner to corner, loosening them off only very slightly, so that it was kind of distributed fairly well. And then you just take those bolts out. I'll speed this bit up for you.
Don't tell me that I need to.
Just taking out the last few bolts now at the back, and then the whole throttle body will literally just lift straight off of the intake, like so. Now I'm going to take it over to the bench and give it a nice clean. Now I'm going to let you know that I did mine only a couple of months ago, and so mine is not dirty. If you've never done yours, and it's been a couple of years, you might find a lot more dirt and grime and carbon in yours, and oil and all sorts of crap. I'm just showing you the 5 where the hoses go on the side. What I use is WD-40. You can use brake cleaner, you can use carburetor cleaner, any sort of solvent, or petrol, any sort of solvent like that will work. All you're going to do is you're going to spray some in. Use an old toothbrush. You don't want to use a wire brush or anything too coarse, but just open up the flap like that. Give it a nice scrub all around, make sure you get all the carbon and dirt off, and once it's nice and shiny, it's kind of job done. There's not really a lot else you can do to it, but that's how you clean it. Now I think the reason for doing this is that you have a nice clean edge around so that the air can flow in better, and it just stops all engine oil and crap going into your intake as well. Now what you're going to do is plonk it back on once you've cleaned it. Make sure you get it the right way, make sure the cable bit is at the front. There's 2 little like nub bits that it places onto, so you can't really get it wrong. So once it's on, all you're going to want to do then is just put your 4 bolts back in, tighten them up, and then it's just going to be a reversal of how we're taking it off. I'm just going to do the bolts up. I haven't actually found a torque spec for these. I did check my Haynes manual, but I couldn't find the torque settings for these, so I just did them nice and hand tight with a 3/8 ratchet. I just went from corner to corner, making sure they were like spread out evenly, so that I didn't tighten one more than the other. So now that the bolts are now can't even talk. Now that the bolts are nice and tight, we can go ahead and put our hoses back on. I'm going to speed this bit up because it's a little bit boring to watch. Just make sure you get the hoses on the correct ones. It's pretty difficult to get them wrong, but some people do. And then you're going to want to put the hose clamps back on just so they're secure. So now that we have all our hoses back on and all the clamps back on, we can go ahead and put our throttle cable back on. What I'm going to do first is I'm just going to get the ball joint on. You just push it on, push the clip down and make sure it's secure, and then you're going to want to give this a really good push and get this throttle cable into the mount. Again, it's pretty difficult to get in, just like it's difficult to get out, so I used a pry bar just to push it in, give me a little bit more leverage. Then we're just going to plug our electrical connector back in. All very simple stuff, you can only go one way. That just clicks in. Just going to check all our hoses there, make sure they're all on, and then we're just going to put our air feed back on. Push it down so it seats nicely. I'm just going to pull the clamp round because it's swung around the back. Then I'm just going to tighten that up with a screwdriver, make sure it's nice and tight so we don't get any air leaks. And the only thing left to do then is to put our engine cover back on. I'll speed this up for you so you don't get bored. Just put it on, put our bolts in, make sure they're nice and tight. And that's how you clean your throttle body. Hope you guys enjoyed this video. Make sure you like, subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video.